At all the streams, we are live on the streams. We look super intense on the streams. I wish I could keep a tune, but if I did, then I'd have to keep the tune. So maybe I don't. Hey, gentlemen, how are you guys?
Hey, that was a great moment of self-awareness. It was a real breakthrough. Like, even if I can create the tune, I can abandon the tune. I am free. I am self-actualized.
Hey, Flying Car 100. And then this computer, I've got to get logged in on Twitch, but I've got to find our password, which I don't know, because that's apparently, hey, G James B. Awesome. Cool. Well, gentlemen, I think I'm good to go if you guys are. Let me just delete this and then we're ready. Record to. Yeah, I guess that's fine. Okay. All right. 3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the Weird Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Brian Brushwood.
Hello.
And Mr. Justin Robert Young.
Hello, friends. How are you?
Gentlemen, let's begin with a quick recent news update as we record this. Today, this morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, OpenAI announced a new research preview.
Mm-hmm.
Just relax. It's only coming for code. That's all. Nothing else. Don't worry. Just code. Just the language that runs the world. Other than that, they have updated their codex. Basically, kind of called a model. Which, when I was there, we realized that by we, I mean the research. The people are really smarter. But I was there, so I got to say we. By
the
GPT-3
way,
was
I am a big fan of the idea that first person should be fungible. Like, it's a shared resource.
Wait, by I mean them. But yeah, when early on in GPT-3, you saw, hey, this thing could actually output code, which was really cool. And then the idea was, well, what if you trained a model specifically on code outputs, which had been tried, other people had worked on that, but the idea of using a model at that scale was new. And that's when they came up with Codex, which was an amazingly capable model for its time, which then went on to power Microsoft's code editor, VS Code, et cetera. And then we had other successive models. Other companies started building in code understanding to it. Anthropic did amazing stuff. Claude, Sonnet, 3.5 and 3.7 have just been beasts for years, just really, really good at this. OpenAI has developed models, some small models, some other models. GPT-4, when that came out, was like incredible. Like that was the best coding model there was. And then the idea was, oh, maybe we should create, specially trained models specifically on that. And now what happened was a few months ago, they came out with Codex CLI, which is a command line tool that basically, if you open up Terminal in your Mac or one like PowerShell or whatever in Windows, you can go in and you can write and control your file structure and write files. Anthropic has a similar thing, which is very good. But the goal was, just to keep iterating on these tools. And so today they showed basically, we'll hear the term agentic. And the way that I think the best way to think about agentic AI is I give it a task, and then if it encounters something, it can then make a new rule or a new thing for itself to go do. If I say, solve this problem, it can go, normally when you use ChatGPT, you say, hey, what's the capital of France? And it'll just one time try to query its knowledge or send a tool call to the web to get an answer. But an agentic thing might say, oh, the tool call didn't give me the right answer. Let me try this. Let me try this. Let me go back and forth. And so agentic behavior basically lets the AI run the AI till it gets to a solution. This is kind of how the reasoning models work. Deep research, which is probably the greatest example we've seen this, where you just literally give it a question and it doesn't necessarily know where to find the answer. And it's like, I will go out, boss, and I will find the answer to your question. It might take a minute. It might take 30 minutes, but I will come back. In the end, you get this. By the way, deep research, I don't know if you know this, it will now present PDFs. So you can take your deep research and then generate a beautiful PDF of this. So what they announced today was a new tool that will be available initially for ChatGPT Pro subscribers, Enterprise and Team subscribers. Then it'll find its way to Plus, and then they'll probably find versions for everybody. Where if you're working on code, and let's say you have your code in a repository like GitHub, place where you store your code to share it with the other teammates, you could point it to there and say, hey, I need you to go check my code. I need you to improve the code, or I need you to go build the thing. And while you're off doing other stuff, it will go through there and it'll continue to iterate on it. And we've seen forms of this from other companies, but they've now trained their own special new version of Codex to do this, which they say just outperforms everything else. Again, it's a leapfrog race. And so we'll see other companies coming up with very competitive products. But anyhow, it's a pretty big leap.
Well, so remind me again, because on this very program, there was something where we watched it do web surfing around, doing research, looking for stuff. That felt
That's
pretty...
Operator.
Operator, got it. Okay. And that is also in the umbrella of agentic behavior, right? The fact
Yeah,
that
very much so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, but specifically the thing they announced with the command line interface, of course, you're not waiting for web browsers to load. You're not navigating. You're just doing.
Well, yeah, and to be clear, so there was the command line thing, but now there's the thing when you open up your ChatGPT Pro subscription, just like Operator, you're going to see Codex. So what that'll be is like in your browser, you'll say, hey, there's a command line tool or something. So I rushed through those two things to say that. There's going to be a thing in your browser, which is a much more capable thing. So what'll happen there is when I go to run these things, it will run it in the cloud. If I say build a Python program to go do this, it'll be building and testing and running this thing on the OpenAI server. So I can run several of these at once. I could also set it up where, eventually, like every time I upload a thing, go look for checks, let me know what needs to be fixed. So basically taking the thing you have to do on your computer, put it into a cloud and letting an agent continuously run.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, and let me ask you this, Andrew, because it feels like over the last, even just from my own life, over the last few weeks, there has been a switch that has flipped with people that are not into this world, that have not followed this world, that now all of a sudden want to know exactly where the capabilities are because they have pressing needs to apply it to their lives right now. And I've had to do a little brief explanation from my knowledge set of like, okay, well, this is what we can do right now. This is really where you should think about applying it. But what I have used as an example, and Codex is a great illustrator of it, is that, in my opinion, I'm curious yours, nothing has been better augmented by AI than coding. And that would be consistent with a lot of technological advancements where they tend to make the technology itself better, faster, than we can figure out applications outside of it. But if the best thing that AI can do, that large language model, artificial intelligence can do right now, is help augment coding, that is where the advancements are, and Codex is the furthest advanced of it. Do you think that that's a good allegory, or am I off base here, gaslighting my friends and family?
No, I mean, we're at a stage now where the people who build the tools are using the tools.
Yes.
And so, the first thing that happened internally at OpenAI for people who have to write a lot of code is we looked at this and said, oh, wow, this writes code. We have to write a lot of code. Let's build a better version of this tool that can write more code, and let's keep making that tool better. And so now there is a Cambrian explosion of code tools. I have friends building at Y Combinator, building tools, building stuff like this. Everybody's trying to build this because the first thing tool users think to do is to build a better tool.
Yes.
Then eventually, they start to think about, then we start to build tools to become adjacent. And so we're seeing the code tools here. Yeah, then we get into the adjacent space, which part of it's like, how do we document the code? How do we do research? How do we do these things? And we're just starting to see these tools that aren't just directly code based. And that's what's exciting, is that when we start to rethink how we do documents, and we start to rethink a lot of other stuff, and we've seen really cool signals in Notion. Notion has done a really good job, in my opinion, of implementing stuff. Like they put like, oh, we have an AI agent. I'm so used to like bad implementations of AI agents. I'm like, oh, let's see your little toy AI agent. Why don't you create me a document that does da 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 da? It did. And I'm like, oh, go tell me what's over in this document. And it did. And I'm like, oh, really cool. Can you tell me a table? And then they've added other stuff. And so I think Notion's done a cool job of that. Descript has been adding stuff like companies, their entire companies come out, oh, we're going to do video generated avatars, and Descript's like, hey, that's just a feature now in our app.
Yeah.
So if that's to
So
kind of answer your question, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to use coding as kind of the stalking horse for when we think about agentic behavior, when we think about the ways that you can do things. You're probably going to see great implementations of these ideas first in the tools, and then that also reflects, because it's been my rubric to kind of help friends and family separate some of the snake oil overhyping of like, hey, today there was a conversation with somebody in my house. I'm not going to name who, but we're related by marriage. And she was talking about video editing, and she was like, okay, well, can AI just edit a video for you? And I'm like, no, right now, and I gave Codex as an example, right now AI tools can make a bad coder into a passable coder. It can make a good coder into a great coder. It could probably make a great coder think of new solutions to things that we had not thought of before, and they can probably sharpen these tools and make them better for everybody. Same with a video editor, but again, it's a lagging comparatively. It can probably make an awful video editor into an okay video editor, and it can make an okay video editor into somebody better with a lot of these tools. And Descript has certainly been leading the way in a lot of them. But if it does not exist in the world of coding, it's hard to, in my mind, think that it exists in another world, and especially in terms of agentic AI.
Well, yeah. So there's fastcut.io, which they call themselves like Cursor for video editing, which is supposed to be more agentic video editing. Looking at their interface, whatever, I don't know what stage they are, but they're doing that. And you mentioned in Descript has an AI called Underlord. So when you put your video into Underlord and you say, can you edit this for clarity? It will go edit the video. It's not going to do like cuts for other stuff in there, but it will go in and let me see if I got the right URL for that, Brian. Fastcutai.co. Sorry, Fastcut AI. Sorry.
No worries.
I have no idea if they're good, but yeah. But anyhow, like so
AI.co.
Yeah. So Descript has the thing called Underlord, and that's pretty cool, because if you put a video into it, it creates a transcript. It'll look through the transcript and figure out what it needs to cut or whatever, and then it does that kind of editing for you. And so I think that the problem is, like, so I just had a couple guys come look at my AC, and the guy with the company, they found out I worked in AI, said, hey, can I talk to you? Because I'm trying to figure out how to automate some of my stuff. I said, yeah, I would love to talk to you, because I'm really trying to understand people completely outside my little tech bubble and tech tools of what your life looks like. Because that's 99% of everybody is where this guy is with, I've got a CRM, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. So I think slowly but surely, yeah, we're going to start seeing these things work their way. And like some of it's faster, like 2 weeks ago, I didn't know this company existed, and now here they are.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what, like, if you look at Codex, so Codex is revolutionary in terms of how they described it, in that they wanted to be a coder that is sitting side by side, that can not only work on things in the background, but also be able to take over codes, take over things that you are working on. That's exceptional, right? If that idea, that agentic idea of I'm working on a thing, somebody is working on something next to me that is able to feed my process, and then I can have it take over a thing that I am doing. That's ideal. I mean, that would be phenomenal in a world of video editing, right? I mean, and that's where, when I think about the future, I think about, for video editing, it's like, okay, is the future this idea where I throw a pile of video into a blender and then it blends up exactly what I want? Maybe. Or is the faster way to get there that it makes a rough draft? Or does it maybe just give me, I throw at everything and I say, cut me together a reel of all the best takes, and I'm able to cycle through that and it assembles it? I don't know. I mean, these are all the things that we're going to find out as we create the tools and we find out which ones are popular.
Yeah, I think what we do for video can change, but also do you bring it earlier on and say, I need to do a video on blank, and it's your producer and says, okay, I need you on camera. If you don't want to use a video avatar, I need you on camera for these 2 minutes, then
Yeah.
off camera for 3, and just record it, and then all assemble. And you could build that now. That's the crazy thing. It sounds like this far off thing, but I'm like, a lot
AI
of these things,
producer.
yeah, a lot of it just comes down to somebody understanding the problem space enough to sit down to say, okay, these are the questions I have to ask at the beginning. This is the thing I need, and this is what like, I tell people, like, the way you solve AI problems is, tell me what the endpoint's supposed to look like. Tell me what you have to start with, and then we'll
Yes.
figure out how to get there. And yeah, I could see a thing too where I say it could tell me like, hey, Andrew, you should probably make a 6-minute video about this. I took your notes. Here's a script. Tell me what you think. Okay, cool. Just record a 2-minute intro and outro on video, and then I'll have you do the audio, and then I'll assemble the things, and I'll show you 4 rough cuts. You choose the one you like, and the next time I'll only show you 2 because I'll know. And then, yeah, I get a producer. I think that's doable now.
Yeah. It's just a matter of putting together the product. And that's the thing, is that it's like we've just had less people that are aware of what can be done, that are looking to solve this problem, versus something like coding, where, as you pointed out, every practitioner who would build the tools codes. So these tools are going to get really sharp pretty fast.
Yeah, that's been my issue with some of my friends who I'm like, they're very quick to be building tools that are a lot like the person 10 feet away from this building. And I'm like, go into another problem space, because if you're building, because I have like several people I know are trying to build code editing tools, like, it's $1 trillion market. I'm like, yeah. And it's like, you're one of 1,000 competing with OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, and these other companies that do it, which isn't a reason not to do it. But it's like, go into video editing or podcast editing and say, oh, I want to build the thing for audio that does this great. That's why there are kludgy things people put out there that don't look fully slick and released. And I think there's better things to just be built. If somebody said, oh, well, I'll just focus on, I'm going to understand this problem area and build it. When we started podcasting many years ago, we kept thinking if we'd see better tools come out. And their tools have gotten marginally better, but if we popped out of a time machine, other than ChatGPT to show us what was in 2025 and talk to somebody in 2006, we'd be really disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of podcasting stuff, really, I mean, I would say that some of this tech was available, could have been done 20 years prior. Just easy one-button double-ended audio recording was something that wasn't really ubiquitous until, I would say, 2021, 22. And that was, working with Chrome. There's no reason. I mean, I once had people inside Apple. Screw it. This is old story. But people inside Apple that were like, to the iChat people. This is when iChat was the most popular way that you could instant message your friends. And that was very relevant when this story was being told. And they said, look, you just introduced audio calling in iChat, which would be a precursor to FaceTime. If you created double-ended recording, very doable. You already have it. We can increase the sales of Macs, because everybody who does podcasting, their podcast will sound 1,000,000 times better, because right now everybody's just recording one version of the conversation on Skype, unless you're doing it manually. You're going through another step to do it. And Apple said, how much do you think this will make us? And they're like, tens of millions of dollars. And the reaction that I was told they got was, ew, gross. Who would pick up trash? Who would pick up trash on the side of the road? Ew, you're made of duty. Like, because they didn't do anything unless it was $1 billion upside.
Well,
and
I said the thing is that they could have owned podcasting and owned $1 billion market.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that it's like, now in hindsight, that was probably not the best decision, but like all this tech was there. It wasn't there in the browser, which is eventually where it got the adoption that it has now. Now it's hard to imagine a world where you would only record one side of a conversation. It's so easy to do double-ended conversation recording.
Well, so right now, like you're settled into the Riverside environment, right? And I know Streamlabs does a similar thing. Does Zoom do it by default? Do all of them do it by default?
Zoom does not. Descript does.
I didn't even know Descript could be used to link two different folks.
Oh yeah, no, they do.
Descript's
They do
great.
video. They do video stuff. For my money, the two people that are running the fastest in video communication and video editing in the browser are Descript and Riverside.
Mhm.
Riverside was a thing that I started using, but I use Descript for when we record with Andrew, because for whatever reason Riverside is haunted when it crosses the threshold into Andrew's internet. But yeah, they're great. They're phenomenal. They're both great tools, and they are looking to innovate constantly. I think that they're very influenced by each other. Riverside, I think, has a slightly more user-friendly UI than Descript does, but they feature-wise, I think Descript's probably more rich than Riverside is.
Yeah, the AI integration in Descript is what I've really liked. Underlord is a really good. You can tell it how to edit your scripts. The stock library built in is great. Like if I just wanted to make content, like Descript is like I've made some of the videos I made that were the best looking videos I've done have been in Descript because they could just go in and use the stock video library, drag stuff in and whatnot. I think Riverside was solid, but then I just a lot of the things and Descript is just they're just been very, very forward on adding stuff. But it comes down to the tool that's best for you. Like Brian, I think you would get a lot out of Descript, to be honest with you, because I think if you started digging into all the little in the image generation, all the other stuff, it's got a lot of cool AI built into it.
So I actually worry quite a bit about. I'm a big fan of evergreen content. That's part of the reason that the Scam School Beneath the Hood is vaudeville, 100-year-old magic tricks, and so on, and that's why it's fairly relevant today. But for structural stuff with memes that are of the moment or font styles that are of the moment, I always worry about that, and I don't know if that's just an internal limiter that I shouldn't be worried about or what. Because if there's an easy button, then everybody is pressing the easy button. And then later when the tide rolls out, we find out who is pressing the easy button.
Well, you find is like the hard thing in Descript is to go make your own template. Is you say, I'll make my own template. I won't use the defaults. I'll go use my thing. It was like iMovie. Everybody went and used the same iMovie sound, right? So everything you could tell immediately when thing was made in iMovie, like, oh, I love this track. Yeah, everybody loved the track. But if you took the time to get a license to go get royalty-free music or whatever and use that instead, I didn't know that you used iMovie. I didn't know what was going on. All I know is, man, you turned around a video really quick and it sounds better. And so I'd say Descript's sort of the same way, is that it'll look like anything else. It does straight line editing to whatever you want. And you can create templates and stuff and fonts and stuff like this. You won't know that what it is. I just think is from a tool point, like I love the script based editing. I love, the idea of just editing via script. I love to be able to add drag and drop, but you guys spend way more time in these tools than I do. So, my opinion is just extremely, but I love the AI integration. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to transition into using easier tools, but I'm still I'm now rounding the corner on my year-long investment of learning how to do everything in this studio. And for example, the fact that I'm able to do the live switching and all that stuff. There's unfortunately no substitute for me having just spent 8 months under the hood of vMix to learn how to set that up, and I'm getting faster and faster. But yeah, I'm hesitant to use things that make it easy until I've fully internalized all the internal fundamentals. But obviously, I don't want to do that forever and ever and ever and just be a Luddite.
Yeah, I think you have to figure out what's the justifiable amount of time to spend to learn it. If you're like, hey, if I spend, I think if you spent, 2 hours with Descript, I would say just look at the tutorials. And if you said, oh, this, spend 30 minutes to look at what it can do, and if you feel like the capabilities are worth your time, then say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 2 hours on a project to see if I like it. And I would say that'd be 2 hours well spent. I'd say
Yeah.
that'd be really, really well spent. You
Well,
know,
and,
because
and
then
there is a whole class of stuff. So historically, there's sort of broad moves that you can make that show your audience respect. One is by putting craftsmanship and polish into whether it's your storytelling, your narrative layer, or your execution layer, your acting layer, your presentation layer, your environment layer, and the because I have historically played to the higher end of polish. I'm not always trying to be the best because then it gets very competitive in that landscape. But I try to be B plus, above average in all the stuff I do. The idea of pressing an easy button tool is there are hiccups for me to embrace it, but there is an entire category of content that is a middle ground between a tweet, let's say, or a 1 minute video and a full 20-minute fully produced episode of The Modern Rogue, that currently there's nothing meeting that demand. And for that layer, I think Descript would be an excellent filler for that, or way to satisfy that in a way that doesn't take up too much time.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, again, too, like the easy button, I would say that it sometimes implies that you get less, but I'd say that, like, we're not sitting in front of old school film editing, keynotes, and trying to like
Right.
splice together the 16mm footage
Well,
that we
and-
shot in our Niagara for stuff.
And the worst part is, like, today it will look great, but strangely, it's the 6 months or 6 years from now. We talked about the papyrus problem.
But Brian, I would say if we're in the world of waterfall video, like we're in like all that stuff is disposable. And I do think that it's like some of that stuff ain't made to last. It's French
But
fry.
I don't understand too, because like I'm trying to. What's the difference between that and doing it anywhere else? Because you just literally, if you feel like, oh, I want to update this, you go back and you change the font. Like I'm like, you have all the elements are there. So like I don't know the difference between this and an Adobe Premiere project.
In my case, remember, I am at the gym working on my fundamentals, so I would have to stop working out at the gym in order to go use the automobile to go faster, which is fine if I never intend to use my own musculature again.
Can you actually put that in a metaphor though?
Yeah, I can add some layers to it.
Just more. I really think that was too clear. Can we metaphor it up a little bit?
Yeah, I'll do my best. But the it's when you want to increase your output and attract a lot of people. Well, I don't know. I mean, yes. This was me agreeing with you. I do agree. I should learn Descript.
Well,
No, but let me clear it for everybody. Set a fixed amount of time, because if like, yeah, to spend 40 hours to go learn this, like, yeah, I would be like, no, like you're not in a position where you want to do that. And I would say that I'm not, Brian, you should sit down and really learn Python, because then you can build your tools, you can do everything. No, I'm not even telling you, I'm not even push. There are things I don't push you into, by the way, because I know your time is precious.
yeah,
So.
like crack.
I mean, if I
Don't
did
push
crack,
him.
I'd have more time.
He'll do it anyway.
I
You don't
think-
have to. The guy loves it. This crack. Yeah. To use a metaphor, I would say, Brian, what you should do as you are in the gym working on your aerobics, which are the basic building blocks of physical fitness, is to not necessarily say, oh, I don't want to use the weight machine, or I don't want to do a high intensity workout, or I don't want to go on an aerobic bike ride or something like that. That there are new and different ways that are there, and that, I think you're at a point now where you understand your output in a way that you did not understand your workflow before, when you had a lot of conflicting interests that were everybody had a different set of hands on a different part of the process. You now know the full flow of it, that if you were experimenting with, like, oh, normally I shoot this, I edit it in Premiere, and I export it, and that's great. So now I know vMix, I know my lighting, I know my recording, I know how these cameras work, and I know how to edit it. If one part of that was everything the same, but it's recording in Descript, and for this short that you put out, you're like, hey, let me just see how this works. Is it confusing? Is it awesome? Is the output, where am I frustrated? Where are the tools there for me? Where are they not there for me? If even just you understand it and you wander through it, it's good just to familiarize yourself, because at a point where either it gets better in a way that frustrated you before, you see a feature that you're like, you have an idea that would be easier to do there than it would be to do somewhere else. I think it's in a good position. And also, the one thing that I would say for all of these things, to go back to Codex, is that where we seem to be headed with a lot of these agentic systems are asynchronous progress, right? Like in the same way that deep research can, when you're you're on a run and you're like, oh, I need a whole thing this week.
Yeah, when I get back from this run, I want that report on my desk, basically, about the whatever. Yeah.
So now it's like, oh, here's a bunch of 4K video that I recorded. I want it cataloged with all the best cuts ready for me by the time that I come back from lunch. Now you peace out for 45 minutes. You come back and it's like, oh, here's a rough cut of, or an assembly cut
A-roll
of what you have. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the questions that I had is Descript by dint of it being a browser-based experience, does it run on your computer with footage on your computer? Do you have to upload stuff to the cloud?
You're uploading it. You're uploading it. Yeah.
Yeah, then that also would explain part of why we have a fairly anemic upstream here at HQ, unfortunately.
But you can also record into it, right? So and this is where I think we're probably going to see soon. This might also exist in Descript. It's been a while since I played with it, but like, what I would love here in my studio, where I have multiple different shots, right? They're not all focused or color corrected currently, but I would love for either Riverside or Descript to just record all of my shots into the cloud, and then there's already tools in both of those platforms to rotate to interesting images, right? I would love for there to be some subtle zoom or subtle movement just to make the image more interesting. Like, I would love a lot of these kinds of things, that none of that is crazy. Like, it would be a crazy server load to upload, 1080p, let alone 4K video from multiple cameras at the same time. And that might be a challenge, but like, there's no reason why that can't be slightly staggered. And I got to wait 10 minutes while it catches up by the end of it. So
in progress.
Scientific analysis of Bigfoot. We're finally getting answers, people. Finally.
Exactly.
So when you run deep research, by the way, ChatGPT, and you have it on your phone, I started a session on my computer and my phone, because I ChatGPT, it's given me an update of the progress of the report. Like,
I did that. There was in the political world, there was a conversation about Qatar, and I decided to look up how much the Qataris have spent with the United States on weapons, and so I was able to do that extraordinarily easily and accurately, because I was able to double check all the sources on it through deep research. And it also, that was the first time that I saw that it was like, oh, look, it's giving me a little alert on my phone. It's like, bing, fries are done.
It is neat to see where the agentic stuff is going, because that's part of what they're trying to show you. Like, that's the idea of you're doing the thing while I do something else. And I did not notice, I didn't know that it would do this, that would do the update, that it's running the thing for me. And I could see, as we start to do more tasks, that's going to, and probably do the thing with the code analysis, whatever. Eventually this stuff will get faster, but we'll do more complex stuff. But we've talked about the idea of the AI being able to reach out to you. and say, hey, this is the progress. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen next with this.
Yeah.
Things are moving fast, and we'll probably have a lot more to talk about in a couple of weeks too. Behind the scenes moves. Man, I guess there's stuff going on outside of AI.
What?
Yeah. Like the brand new album, I Don't Want to See You in Heaven by Weird Things fan Carson Pace and his band, the Callous Cowboys, out now, getting a rave reception from the music community. Is very, very exciting to see what I would say is probably the #1 rock album to be released this week. And it came from somebody who has been such a big fan of this show, and we love him. And I'm on 2 tracks. In fact, the track
on.
The track that you will skip to get to the music with the first track, that's me. I am what Bernie Mac was to Kanye West. I am to this new Callous Cowboys album, and it's really, really good. If you're into rock music, heavy rock music, you'll absolutely love it. But if you're into pop punk stuff like that, you'll really like it as well. It's phenomenal. So go get it, stream it, buy it. Bandcamp. Carson said Bandcamp was the place if you really wanted to support him. Buy it on Bandcamp. But otherwise, it is available on Spotify and Apple Music.
I just want to hear. I want to hear your narration. Where can I go to hear that?
Wherever you get music, I guess.
I just want to hear that. They'll have it up on YouTube, maybe. What's the name of the track that you're on?
Oh, hold on.
Side note, I'll tell you kind of a quick, kind of cool thing. So one of the things that's happening now is that with the search for AI knowledge, et cetera, we went from just having web crawlers now having AI crawlers going across the web.
Yes.
Some companies make licensing deals, some don't. And so when you get traffic on your site, like I get a lot of podcast downloads that I'm pretty sure aren't people, that are probably somebody just grabbing that data for whatever. So Cloudflare has come up with something. Cloudflare is one of my favorite companies providing all sorts of tools. They call it the AI Labyrinth. And what this is basically when an AI crawler comes in to your site, it will misdirect it, tell it to go here, tell it to go there. And it's basically just generating new pages and new links to sort of thwart the crawler.
That's amazing. All right. So if you want to hear me on the Callous Cowboys album, it is the first track, 1, Collection of Forgotten Dreams, and then 2, Roman numeral 2, Opt Out. But this is...
Collection of Forgotten Dreams.
And reverse, one side, and downplay SeaWorld footage. On the other, was discovered in the occupied zone of Mena Market.
Team of Failure proudly presents the I Don't Want to See You in Heaven collection, an enigmatic series of 11 pieces created by an unknown group of artists known only as the Callous Cowboys.
That's great.
Their true identities are, unfortunately, lost to time. These pieces were created 300 years ago during the years of 2023 and 2024.
That's so great. It didn't sound like Justin to me, and then it suddenly did. That's fantastic, man. Congratulations.
Well, look, it is just an honor to be on such a great album. It's really, really good. I'm so proud of Carson and Amber and everybody else that's in the band. They've worked really, really hard. They got their first headlining tour coming up this year, and they're going places, and they deserve to. They worked really, really hard, and they put in the time.
Exciting. I love the cover, by the way. I've seen it a couple times pop up.
Yes, a great cover. Great cover. But yeah, I mean, their first breakout, their first album, Die on Mars, was named for us talking about Elon Musk wanting to die on Mars. Yeah.
That's awesome.
On this show.
That's awesome. A quick side jag. I heard a phrase being bandied about recently that I noticed it the second time I heard it, but instead of SEO, search engine optimization, I heard about the incoming GEO, generative engine, I don't know, optimization. The idea that just as if you wanted to get your blog or whatever discovered by certain search terms, you would make sure to play to the robots, then so too you could do that with AI so that it cites you. It makes, as best I understand it, the most I heard was be very, very quotable. Get ready for an AI agent to make sure they use your pull quotes so it links to your blog.
Yeah. The challenge is this. SEO became a cat and mouse, and it became people trying to optimize for SEO, doing that. And then we've had a couple times where Google has sort of like shaken the world of SEO because they realize how people are gaming it. And then they kind of like redo everything. And then everyone's like, what do we do now? Now we got to figure out the new algorithm and do this. And I think for really sincere content, it's a good idea. One of the things we've seen, some of the technical sites I go to that like have like code examples, they have like copy paste buttons. Like Cloudflare will do a thing, convert it to Markdown because like they absolutely want this to do it. They're not trying to game the system. I think what's going to happen is you're going to get people who are going to, the opportunists, be like, we'll help you game the system kind of thing. I have a feeling it will be very short-lived in its utility because these AI systems can adapt and figure out very, very quickly if this is useful or not. And, so it'll be
I wonder as just a counterfactual to presume, because ultimately the way to win at GEO is to synthesize your thoughts exquisitely efficiently so that you exercise an economy of the words you're using so that you become very quotable, which seems like a net benefit to humans in general.
You're assuming that the people trying to engage in most of this SEO are thought influencers, not people trying to sell you crap. I'd say that Bill's discount electric, razors for your scalp. I mean, like that's the thing. That's the mark of the majority of this SEO things to sell you stuff you don't want.
And it's part of the reason why it sucks, right? It's part of the reason why search has gotten worse. And it's part of the reason why we are hungry for a solution to crawl the internet and interface with the internet that is something other than what has been tainted. I was blown away on the ChatGPT Reddit. Somebody pulled up just a general list of traffic for the internet, right? This is just raw traffic numbers. ChatGPT is broken into the top 5 of that with 2.3% of internet traffic. They are the only in the top 10 to be gaining in this metric. Everybody else is losing something from it. They are up 13.4 in their monthly. So that is 5.14 billion monthly visits. The top of that is Google at 81.31. They are 36% of internet traffic. YouTube is second at 12.8. Facebook is at 5.1 and Instagram is at 2.76. And my supposition is that if you look at these trend lines, we're going to be at a point sometime probably soon when ChatGPT is more visited than Instagram. And then the next one, when you start cracking into the top 3, these are going to be seismic shifts if we continue to see these kinds of trends where the top folks are losing and ChatGPT is gaining. And I think part of it is because as popular as all these tools are, Google, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, pillars of the internet they are, we are frustrated by them. I don't know anybody who uses these things that are not frustrated by the user interface. We want the content. We desperately want the content, but all of them have been marked by people putting hurdles in our way. Probably the one that does it the best is YouTube, but other than that, Facebook, Instagram, and Google, the leading thing that we talk about when it comes to those platforms are being frustrated by them.
I do think, to Brian's point, though, I do think that like for Brian Brushwood, a person that somebody's going to want to find out or know or hear, like I do think like, yeah, for like your Substacks, your blog posts, your podcasts and stuff, that 100% makes sense. And I would say my knee-jerk reaction, whatever I hear SEO, I think of the 98% of everybody else trying to get me information I don't want. But I do think that, like, yeah, for you, it's sincere stuff that says, hey, no, people will want to know this. I 100% agree.
Well,
100%
and
agree.
there is a little bit of unfortunate, like for example, there's a lot of legitimate businesses. For example, your own name. Let's say in Austin, Texas, Brian's AC Company is a company in Austin, Texas, right? There is an incentive for Bad Actors AC competitor to purchase the SEO of Brian's AC Austin, Texas. So now I have to engage in SEO stuff to make sure that I get my own top. There's a little bit of antibody SEO-ness that has to happen. And so I suspect that it'll be a similar thing, both on the, the Substack layer, like we were just talking about, Andrew, but then also you've got political kind of PR battles, saying good things about your company, bad things about your company. You're going to have to engage in kind of defensive, pullable quotes about why your company is I don't know, trustworthy or not trustworthy, et cetera, et cetera. I guess I'm just sort of noticing the incoming metagame that is happening.
Yeah, my instinct is though that the metagame is going to be outgamed by the bigger companies AI that are looking for the gamers, because like looking for the people trying to game the system, because they don't want OpenAI added in ChatGPT, now they'll do product recommendations when you ask for it. When you say I'm looking for this, it'll do that. And their goal, they've been very, very clear when I talk to them behind the scenes about this, is they want you to be happy and not in a Google do no evil thing. But the moment you don't trust it, the moment you feel like it's pushing a thing on you, that's a problem for them, because you're paying, they want to get you to pay for their services. And I'd say that that's going to be a tricky thing for the marketers and the SEO people is going to be, yes, they will be able to sell people these services with the idea that you can do this, but I don't know how long that will last.
I'll tell you what, we talk a bit about kind of the job loss and reshuffling that people are fearful of with the incoming AI wave. It does make me really think deeply that the job of professional reviewer is going to be functionally much more important. To be a trusted reviewer of Amazon products you can make probably a decent middle-class income doing it in the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think that's I see, and to your point, like one of the things I could see is creating a big knowledge graph that when you want to sell a thing, you go to the graph, you put your product details, who's the ship, who's the fulfillment. And then when I want to find a thing with that ID, that ISBN, I then want to go, who are my trusted people? One is my peers. Have any of my friends bought this thing? Do they have a nice thing to say? Is there a Consumer Reports or some company who I trust there? Because I don't trust Amazon reviews by people on Amazon pages, because again, Amazon's got their own incentive. But I could see a third party thing. And I do think that we've always wondered, well, who will pay for this? Like, well, now we have an answer for a lot of this. Like, who's going to pay for journalism? Well, it turns out the AI companies are making deals with journalists, because the price of keeping 100 news, journalists on a beat, on beats doing this is coverable by a Google or an Anthropic.
And then truly we enter a genuine marketplace of ideas where excellent journalism will be rewarded with larger mind share and larger trustworthiness score, and therefore theoretically you'll get paid out commensurately to your excellent superior journalism.
Yeah, in theory, and hopefully, you want a competitive market too, because you don't want one megacorp dictating the news over another, and hopefully, and we want to carve out a space for alternatives. And I do like the idea too that you go into ChatGPT or Claude and you're like, hey, here's an API for this news agency that I actually trust more than the ones that you're getting from, and it uses that. I think that, I went to a thing, so there were a couple big things that happened there. One was the code, was Codex, the models could write code. Then OpenAI started training models on tool use, the ability to call APIs to be able to do this. And that was a big deal, because once the models could generate code and can generate things like reliable formats that formatted data, JSON, et cetera, that was big. And then Anthropic came out with what they called MCP, Model Context Protocol. And what this was basically Claude, and now the OpenAI models do this. You can say, this is an API spec. Here's a server, so you can call it and ask it for things, right? So right now I have a project in front of me I'm working on, and I'm using Windsurf, which is another AI tool I love. And I added the MCP spec in there for my Superbase, which is a database I'm using with the actual database I created it. So as I write my code, it goes up to there, says, give me the schema so it can see the database structure and it can make changes and it can operate this remotely. So now we're in this kind of cool space where the AI agents are learning how to talk to, you know, these other systems. And it's been this kind of pattern of continuous sort of development. And I think that, you know, we're going to get into this area of customizability where you might pay company A for a service, but then use 5 other plugins from other places and it becomes your own tool.
Mm-hmm. So how do you recommend people get around, Andrew, the number of hours in a day problem? By which I mean, I trust nobody more than you when it comes to looking at the entire landscape of all of the projects and products out there when it comes to AI. And I have settled into the heuristic of, I just use ChatGPT until my friend Andrew says I really need to check out something else like, oh, I don't know, Descript, in which case, then with that nudge, I will invest it. And also Notion is another one of those things that finally I'm over the hump of like, okay, next time I'm going to start something, that'll be where I invest the time on it. For people who don't have your phone number outside of listening to this program, which by the way, legit, I cannot think of a single program that is more timely, up to the minute, in terms of what the bleeding edge of this stuff is. Outside of this program, do you have a best practices that you recommend?
I mean, it does just build a little network of people working on this stuff, and they don't have to be experts. It can just be people who are going to play with stuff and do it because, you know, there are people who will follow every update on ChatGPT, right? And then sometimes a feature comes out, and I don't pay attention to it. Then somebody else tells me about it. I'm like, oh, wow,
this
that's
is all
really
in
cool.
X. Like that's your preferred up to the minute chatter environment?
No, literally talking to my other friends, just literally talking to friends about stuff. You know, I just, you know, got contacted by a friend who I hadn't talked to in a while who suffered a stroke. And he's, you know, I'm going to do a session later to show his girlfriend some of the things to do with ChatGPT, because when I talked to them, they didn't know about, he's got very low vision, but didn't know about the new hold to talk function and the fact that you can do a hot button in these things. We have a woman who helps us organize who speaks Spanish. And this was funny is some friends of ours recommended her, said she's great. She came over to work with us. So we use ChatGPT as a translator, right? And ChatGPT is not the best, but it's actually really good in voice mode. It'll go back and forth between Spanish and English. So my wife will talk to her, have conversations with her. Great. It just sort of reduces the language barrier, becomes very easy. We've been in the kitchen, just talked to her using ChatGPT. The friends that recommended her to us said, oh, they started laughing because she now pulls out ChatGPT to talk to them. And so that word of mouth about how people use tools can be very helpful. And often people who you don't think are technical are sometimes, oh, I found this thing and it's really good. And then so I would tell people, like, get a few friends and just schedule a weekly call to just literally talk about what you're doing.
That astonishingly tends to be one of my favorite ways the best ideas come from, is when somebody is goofing around with it and they don't know that something is or is not built to do a certain thing. Like, for example, weirdly, at this moment, the fastest heuristic to get ahead and get the most out of an AI assistant is to, weirdly enough, believe it's a person. If you just treat it like your best friend, that's the fastest way ahead. Now, whether or not that's the healthiest strategy in the long term, I have no idea. I can't speculate on that. But I do know that a friend of mine who's, you know, an engineer, a very, very smart person, he understands the under the hood stuff to the AI. And meanwhile, he's constantly lagging behind his wife, who's just essentially thinks it's magic, treat it like magic. And turns out that's the best strategy to very quickly find out all the things it can and can't do.
Yeah, we're talking to a guy here who got his job among some exceptionally very talented mathematicians and researchers and scientists who's, a former cruise ship magician, because I loved language and said, oh, it's a language model. Well, I'm going to focus on that. I'm not going to focus on the math of the thing that's going on. And I've seen people who just explore the space of these models, not knowing the technical things, but just seeing how it can behave and do really well. And I think that some of the best users of these tools are not the people that built the tools. The people, we saw that with that was really clear with DALL-E, the first image generator. Was I would go and I'm like, I'm the prompt guy. I'm going to make some really cool images. Then we gave it to an artist and they spent a few hours with it and they started realizing it knew artistic terms that I didn't, or was a vocabulary I didn't have. And they were just blowing away anything I created.
What's funny is I didn't really think about it, but one of the first tricks that I picked up as I was playing with image generation was to mention specific lenses that I knew what a 50 millimeter fixed lens, that creates the shallow depth of field that I want. So rather than saying I want the foreground looking crisp and the background out of focus or whatever, it's like, give me a Canon 50 millimeter lens, golden hour, this, that, and then let me see a lens flare, and I'm like, yep, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, and it turns out too that models will sometimes respond to more professional language, that somebody who's using it and speaking it to that way, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'm going to give you the good stuff because you were very discriminating about this.
Know how to appreciate it.
I see you're a man of taste. Well, and weirdly, you notice that in the way, like, for example, we've talked before about what an exceptional tool it is for titles and thumbnails, because when I describe a particular video, I know what I want the viewer at home to feel, so I will use a lot of feeling-based language and not give a lot of details on the mechanics. And as a result, I'll get titles that I like and seem to work very, very well. Other team members will also attempt to use the tool for the same thing, but because they're all like, oh, this is a great video, it has a fire hydrant and a robotic arm and this and that, and it's like all of the titles come out fire hydrant robotic arm move angle thing, and I'm like, well, these are terrible titles. Now, of course, that's not a value judgment on the person, but it's interesting how we don't often think of what types of input were. That was a good moment of metacognition that I got to ask myself, why are these two results very, very different?
Yeah. Gentlemen, anyone who picks?
Yeah, man. My pick is Andor. It's gotten good, I think. I haven't gotten through the end of the season, but I do know that currently the highest rated episode, where a lot of things reach a boiling point, was very, very good in my opinion. And I'd be curious to hear whether or not you're still frustrated with the series, Andrew.
I'm only 6 episodes in, and I was thinking that it was a 9-episode series, so you can imagine that mine, like, So I've heard it got better, which I'm glad, because 6 episodes in, I would say the soap opera was a bold take, but I'm curious to see.
Yeah, I'm 3 episodes in. Boy, if Topher Grace could just re-edit those first 3 episodes like he did the prequels, like, I think that there's a great episode in there. There'd be some great B-roll and flashbacks of things that happen on a planet. But, like, other than that, it was slow. It still reminds you why it's good, but boy, does it take its time to do it. So I'm excited. I have heard that what is it? Is it 12 in total, Brian?
Yes. Yeah. And I have not done the last 3. All I can say is that episodes, I believe it was episode 8 is the highest rated one of all time. 9 was fine. 9 had, but 8 was excellent.
8 was great.
8 was great. 8 might be the best.
Right.
It was great.
Good. My pick is The Studio. I really liked it. It's on Apple TV. It is Seth Rogen as the head of a movie studio. A few funny things about it. If you are expecting it to be a even semi-serious take on this, reframe your expectations, think of it more like the Larry Sanders Show. In fact, I would say the Larry Sanders Show is probably the template for which to enjoy it. And if you look at it in that lens, I think you will enjoy it. Two things that were very funny. First, there is a Golden Globes episode that has a very, very funny cameo. And if you're going to do a show, do you guys care if I spoil a cameo?
Oh, no. That's fine. That's
I'm
fine.
not gonna watch it.
It's not precious to me.
So the Golden Globes, they're at an award ceremony, people are getting up, and the Seth Rogen character is very frustrated with the fact that Netflix shows keep winning and people keep thanking Ted Sarandos. And then they show over his shoulder the video of what's going out for the television feed, and they cut away to Ted Sarandos of Netflix, which is a Apple TV show. So it's funny that they're mentioning Netflix and then they show Ted Sarandos, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's kind of a funny in a show that is about inside Hollywood stuff, that they have this little nod to it. And then Seth Rogen is in the bathroom, and next to him taking a piss is Ted Sarandos in a cameo on the Apple TV show.
That's great. That's good metagaming.
And then he's like, hey, how do you get all these people to keep thanking you? And Ted Sarandos is like, oh, it's in their contract. I make them. But it is well done. And then the other funny thing is that I have spent far too much time in the world of Las Vegas, and specifically Las Vegas magic, that I was able to spot a Las Vegas magician blurry as a background actor at a hotel party in their CinemaCon episode that just came out this week, where immediately I was like, oh, Murray Sawchuk. That's Murray Sawchuk.
Yeah, I was just saying,
a blurry blob.
One guy or two that would probably be like Murray or Franz Harari.
Yeah,
that's funny.
But yeah, no, it's great cast. Really, I mean, if you enjoy Hollywood, inside Hollywood stuff, it is.
It also
kind
does
of a must watch.
It also does a fine second layer magic trick of doing the continuous shot. It's very reminiscent to Birdman in the style. I like that little extra magic trick game of how everything is all in one take, one shot.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly is. Yeah. That to me is something that I think it becomes less precious about. You could tell that they really cared about that
in one
in
episode.
the early going. Well, yeah, they have there's an episode early on where it is a continuous one take shot about them trying to get a one take shot. That being said, the more they dial into the characters, which happens about halfway through, the more you kind of appreciate it. I think that there's funny stuff in there. So I like it. The studio.
Very cool. Pick wise, what show that I've been getting into that I didn't think I would is The Magicians.
I don't know. I don't know that one.
So there was a book series by Lev Grossman, and that was the whole, what if we set Harry Potter's in a college and added sex and drugs? And it turned out it's a great thing to add to that kind of a story. And again, there's differences. I said to a friend, describe there's this whole fictional universe. I'm like, I know, but it's magic, but adults at an adult college for magic, and sex and drugs and whatnot, and their own big baddie and whatnot. It's cool. There's a TV series they've done for this. I've been watching this. I've been actually enjoying it. I think it's actually.
Is this an older one, or did they
I
do
thought it had been
10
around.
years old, but 10 years old.
Okay, yeah.
Wasn't it a sci-fi original series?
Yeah, sci-fi.
Yeah.
So anyhow,
a little anticipatory. I would love to gauge your enthusiasm or excitement. I didn't read Murderbot, but I saw the trailer for the Apple TV original.
it looked great.
Trailer looked great, and it had a 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think there's only 2 less than fresh reviews now, so it's at 97%.
Critically or
critically. I mean, it hasn't come out yet, so there's no audience reviews yet.
Yeah. I'll see. We'll wait for the audience. Yeah. I don't.
I don't think I trust a critic. I've trusted a critic review on Rotten Tomatoes since the All Girls Ghostbusters. I feel like that was a point where I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't trust the critical consensus anymore. And then it only got shaggier from there because their answer was like now let's include any random blog, and it was like, oh, okay, so I don't know. This is,
yeah. I will say I'm hopeful. The trailer was great. I love the trailer for it. But I remember it was like somebody said that was the thing about like the Disney Plus Star Wars shows. They always start off these great critical reviews, and you watch them, and they're just garbage.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that's really good.
Scan all of their reviews for my new Tell. I talked about this with Brian on Great Night. It's not perfect. If it's a positive review that includes the phrase "it's not perfect," it's trash. It is total trash.
It is toxic. It literally
awful.
Gives you cancer.
I mean, 5 stars, and somewhere in the review, it's not perfect, but absolute rotten cut garbage.
Yeah, fair enough. Gentlemen, it's been weird.
Nailed it. You guys want to do a short break, then do after things?
Sure.
I'm good.
Okay. Well, here, I'll leave you two gentlemen to chat while I run to the restroom.
Yo. Superman trailer.
So, look, I'm optimistic because I would like for there to be a world in which Superman is good. I remain consistent that there are a few characters in the world of the comic genre for which you need to showcase as much, if not more than their heroes, to have the stories be most compelling. And I would say that those two are Dr. Doom and Lex Luthor. So I was disappointed in the Superman trailer on 2 things. Number one, much like the Fantastic Four trailer, which has no Dr. Doom, I don't feel like the leads have a particular chemistry. Like, I don't immediately, like in that Lois and Superman, it's like an interesting premise for a trailer to set that up, but I didn't think that I really I don't know. I didn't get the sense that there was a lot more than just what there was, which is frustrating because I do think that you need chemistry between your 2 leads, especially for a story that's going to be fairly simple. The stuff that I liked is that it does seem that James Gunn wants to skip to the part where we are living in a wider world with Superman that is filled with a lot of different crazy DC stuff, which I think is good because we don't need another Superman origin story. But not a lot of Lex, not a lot of idea about the conflict other than Superman is trying to figure out where he lives in a modern world. But I don't know. There was not anything that I was like, this is going to be absolute trash.
Yeah, I mean, if I see that dog, well, I'm already sick of the dog. I'll just put it this way. I was sick of Baby Groot before Guardians.
Yes.
Came out with Guardians 2 came out with the Baby Groot. I was already sick of Baby Groot. And then the whole open, like, hey, more Baby Groot. And I was like, I don't want James Gunn to do baby animal again. I just don't like it. Just Guardians 3 was just like, it's fine. I think he's an amazing writer, incredibly Peacemaker.
Yeah.
That like one of the best episodes of superhero TV ever. And again, if it gets like Thunderbolts, I was all like, are you kidding me? This thing. And then I'm like the biggest fan. So I can flip like a switch on these things. So one, I'm like, man, this would have been a really good Clark, angsty Superman Clark for Smallville.
Yeah.
I'm now looking at a guy that he's a journalist. He's this, and he's losing his temper, which is fine if he was Superman in college or it was this.
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is the guy that's been the Superman. Like, he's a younger guy, but I'm like, I know what he's trying to. I'm like, yeah, I think this would have been earlier in his journey. And so now I'm watching him lose his temper over this stuff. And I'm like, that's not, and that's what I loved. Again, I mean, Christopher Reeve has just created such a role, but that was what's great about him was when you encounter that kind of aw shucks and it's real is great. That's what I always loved about that version of Superman was, he's got that sort of, well, there's going to be that. So that was a little bit like, oh, we'll see where it goes, but it was kind of like, what if Superman was just another dude kind of thing, was a little bit, a little bit cool. It's a different story. It's fine. And then, I'll be like, we'll see. But also like the thing when they kept doing it, I wanted to be like, and so why did you post those tweets? Hey, I was drunk. I was just late. What am I supposed to do? I'm like, I mean, wait, what tweets? Wait, what? And so it felt like there was more projection going on there. So.
Yeah. My first thought was like, with all the crypto stuff, it was just like, I'm guessing it tests off the charts when they show it, the dog, people like it, because I can't imagine why they would have the dog in there that much unless people really like it.
James Gunn gets to call the shots is why. James Gunn gets to,
he loves his dog. Like James Gunn,
the
person, like brings his dog everywhere, tweets about his, I don't know, he's probably blue skying about his dog, but like, he personally loves his dog.
I love dogs.
Well, you like dogs?
Man.
You like dogs?
I've had enough of that dog. I've had enough of that dog.
Dags. All right. I was about to ask if we're ready to get started, but I guess Justin's cleaning up something. This is the trailer for Superman. You guys were talking
Superman
about
trailer. Yeah.
Did you see the trailer for Peacemaker?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm kind of the mindset of like, and I like that he's pulling him into the bigger cinematic universe, but I would say that my issue there is like, Peacemaker is sort of this delightfully absurd kind of character. And I liked him sort of where he's kind of adjacent to a lot of the stuff, but once you try to remind me that his universe is the same universe as everybody else, it's going to become, it's like, I have enough trouble trying to reconcile the Marvel universe, with a lot of the bad Marvel movies.
Yeah.
But again, we'll see. Like, I love Peacemaker. So.
I like seeing James Gunn's brother.
Yeah.
Well, if it's a James Gunn production, you'll see him. Sorry, Brian, I didn't know that you had a monopoly on taking a bathroom break during the
I didn't. I was not asserting that. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Yep.
3, 2.
Hello and welcome to the After Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young.
Hello.
And Mr. Brian Brushwood.
Howdy.
Gentlemen, question I often get from people: how do you do it? How do you do all the things you do? The podcast, the books, the AI work, the driving the van along the highway, the mysterious nights with that other hobby we don't talk about. And the answer is terribly.
I mean, I would disagree, but go on. Tell us more.
Oh, I think we all have people in our households would agree. And so I was thinking a lot about that, about just that we have a habit of judging people externally and go like, oh, all these things are working and clicking. And then inside you're literally got your foot on a valve, one hand holding onto the wire, something else trying to keep, something overflowing and stuff like this. And it's like, yeah, I don't feel on top of anything. I'll make it very clear. Do you guys feel on top of anything? If so, how do I feel like that?
No.
No. Agreed. We're all agreed.
All agreed. Well, there you go, folks. Everything you need to know right now.
Yeah, but also it's like, here's an interesting game. Would you rather be impressed with yourself or have other people be impressed with you? Or likewise, would you rather have other people say you're very, very productive or feel like you're very, very productive? that's that external versus internal. I don't know if validation's necessarily what I'm heading, but it's like, I don't know. It's there are people who are awesome who behave as though they're not impressed with the problems surrounding them, and those people are very, very cool. The downside is they literally are not very impressed with the problems around them, and they're very bored. Which would you rather be?
I don't know. I mean, no. I mean, I would rather feel balanced myself. I don't want to say, oh, I don't care about the opinions of others. I do. I have a passing, interest in the opinions of others.
A glancing interest.
Yeah, but
I'm told other people exist.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a good benchmark from it's funny. I like watching Tony Hinchcliffe's Kill Tony, and you get a range of humans who go up on that stage, and they put their names in this bucket to get called up on stage. Brian, you ever watch this?
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's all live.
And oh wow, yeah, that's right. And you see the completely unself-aware go up there, and you see the completely self-aware go up there, and you kind of realize that well, you don't want to be completely unaware, but if you're too self-aware, or I mean, if you spend too much time in that space, it's not really helpful. But I do think I don't know, I would certainly, I'm certainly, we talked about tools and a little bit in weird things, but I'm very open to the idea that I'm probably not optimizing my time right.
I constantly feel like I don't have a handle on things, and I've made concerted efforts to try and focus my time or schedule out things a little bit more rigidly. I think that there are certain habits that if I keep to them, they tend to go easier. I tend to be able to fit more in, but it's a constant struggle, especially when there's travel involved. As soon as you change, you factor in that element of different areas, and between the last few weeks, I had the double detonations of a big travel week, and then the jury duty, and then this week was me getting back into the swing of things and realizing oh my God, how many things that I ignore if I'm not doing it every day. If I'm not here we go, then it's easy to forget. And then it's always an uphill climb. It is why an AI assistant, one that I talk to in the morning and tells me what my schedule is, cannot come soon enough. And I'm actively trying to build it.
I know you've done some partial workarounds in that department. Do you have any insights to share? Because I got as far as setting up a project folder labeled personal time management. And then from here, I was going to start because I see which things slip by that shouldn't, that are not urgent, but are important.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the long and the short of it is I built a system where I needed to talk to it every day. And that worked well until I didn't have a set. I wasn't in my, the way I work now, I wake up at 5:35 in the morning. I walk out of my room. I grab the stuff that I'm going to work out in, and then I sit on my couch and I drink 2 pints of water I have that time. And so either I can spend that time scrolling on social media, or checking email, or I can talk to my assistant about what I want to do. It can take a stab at my day. I can move things around. And then by the time that I either go running or go to the gym, I will have my day. And that's good. Unfortunately, sometimes I'm in the air, or I'm at the airport, or I'm in a different city, or I'm at jury duty, or blah, 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 blah. Right. And that's something where that system fell apart. And this week I had yet to pull it back together, which shows that I didn't trust it enough. I didn't trust it to bring me stability. I looked at it as an onerous thing that I would have to put back together. And so therefore it slipped off. And that to me is when I have a thing that I know will bring me stability, when I have an interaction with a device that I know brings me peace, that's when I will know that I have achieved my Frankenstein monster of time management for me. But
could
it's
you
not
talk
there
a bit
yet.
about how, because like, oh, my wife has been using ChatGPT to help her schedule.
Yeah.
And I think when ChatGPT connects to a calendar, which is really not a hard thing, I think it's going to be a major unlock, an incredible unlock, because
Yes.
I think it'll be a pretty easy transition as well, because humans are already familiar with the idea of the wealthy having a personal assistant who knows their entire schedule or whatever. And I think that will be a fairly easy transition for a lot of people to make.
So I have not figured out a mechanical way for me to give it access to my my calendars, which is another problem. Is that I have multiple calendars that oftentimes don't have the same things on them. Although that is more of a problem with Google, that I should probably find another solution. I should probably just transfer to iCal so I can import multiple Google calendars so I have one master calendar. But I have yet to find a way to mechanically do it, which means that right now I have put into ChatGPT's memory my basic obligations for the week, as well as a running tally of to-dos that I know I need to do. And at the point of me telling it a to-do, it will have a brief question about exactly what I'm looking to do, which will then assign it a time value, so it's able to throw it into my calendar in an effective way. But it means that I have to ask it what I'm going to do today. It'll spit out based on its memory what it thinks. And I would say it's probably about a 60% good at that. Like sometimes it'll remember a thing that I told it 2 weeks ago that I did, and it won't remember that I completed it or whatever. But then I'll look at my calendar. I'll see if there's any conflicts there, and then I'll correct it. And once it sets up, I will tell it to start. And so at that point, I now have a set thing that I have looked over that it gave me the first draft of, and then I'll check back with it throughout the day to tell it that I did things, which just always brings me back to the idea that I have an agenda today. This is a thing that I need to do. If I were to think about what I would want it, to do automatically, read all my calendars. I don't want to transfer to iCal. I want an assistant that tells me what I have to do. The calendar, to me, the calendar interface is passé. It is bygone. It is something that I only want to look at if I absolutely have to visualize a week, a month, something like that. Other than that, I literally, it is just a barnacled relic where a bunch of calendars that like I kind of want to know. It's like at a certain point, I added the calendar for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Does that need to be a block on a thing in the same way that all of my podcasts are, that work obligations?
that vaccines are?
Yeah. So it's like a daily podcast or a daily view should be an agenda, a thing that could also be a PDF that I can automatically print out, if not automatically prints out every morning when I've said that it's ready to go. I would need to read all my calendars. I don't know if I would want it right now to be creating things from email, but maybe no. In fact, I don't know. Not until they get better at email do I want it to read things out of my email and tell me maybe flights. That might be the only thing. If I get a flight email, then throw that in there immediately. But otherwise, yeah, that's what it is. I would love for it to read my calendars, and I would love for it to be a set to do thing. I don't think that a chat interface is a great interaction. I don't think it's a great UI. I think it should be some kind of graphical interface with a chat function to it.
Sorry, incoming. We just got this in from Deep
Nice.
Research. ChatGPT scientific analysis of Bigfoot, a multidisciplinary perspective. So I had Deep Research create this, and then I said export it as a PDF. And
That's amazing. Wow, the images are awesome.
oh wow, the whole Patterson film.
Yeah.
Frame grab. This is insane.
Yeah,
All the
wow.
citations,
Complete
everything
with
else.
footnotes and everything. Citations. Did we talk since I guess my latest discovery, well, I mean, surely everyone else has figured it out. I finally encountered for the first time using ChatGPT to solve the whiteboard problem. You get done with the whiteboard. We did a whole bunch of budgeting stuff. Just snapped a photo, boom, Excel spreadsheet, just like that. It was amazing.
That's amazing. Yeah. Cool features in ChatGPT, which people may not know about. And I would just like to run this down. When we go into, if you go into the voice mode, and if you go in and you click on the speaker, hello, ChatGPT, how are you?
Hey, Andrew. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Now, one of the things I can do, ChatGPT, I'm going to explain this, ignore me, is I can put my thumb and hold on to the blue dot for as long as I need to get my thought out.
Oh,
So if I'm in an environment where it's talking and I want to do it, so it says release when done talking. So it hears me talking everything right now.
oh, that's wonderful. So it's like it won't.
That's a pretty handy way to make sure you can get all.
Now, what about the inverse? Because the problem I have is I need to talk to another human and I need it to not be interrupting or acting like this is part of whatever the discussion is. I usually have to hit the mute button.
Yeah. Hey, ChatGPT, I'm in a conversation with you and a couple other people. Only answer if I start with, hey, ChatGPT. Understand?
Got it. I'll only respond when you say, hey, ChatGPT.
Okay, so
Brian,
now,
that's a very good question. So we'll find out some of the other things that can be done here.
yeah, but can
Sure thing. Just let me know if you need anything.
yeah.
Yep. But if I say I'm talking to Brian versus you, but yeah, it feels compelled to respond. But anyhow, but the other thing to do is I use the microphone button a lot. That's my primary way. Is I press the mic and just record my voice and send it to it.
Yeah.
The other thing is I am demoing it, and hold on, ChatGPT, feel free to talk if you want. When you click on the share button, there's show captions, which will show you the captions for it, right? And then if I want to, there's take photo, there's the share screen where I can share my screen with, if I want to show it something on my iPhone itself, but also then the camera in the corners, the video. So you could do the whiteboard thing too, is just basically click on that and, hey, ChatGPT, what are we looking at here?
Hey, from what I can see, it looks like you're demoing a video call interface on your iPhone. I can see some options on the screen, like sharing captions, taking a photo, sharing your screen, and using the camera for a whiteboard effect. It's a pretty versatile setup.
Anyhow,
So,
those
now-
features, but were incredible. And you can actually, by the way, you can have it read to you too. You can hold up a book with the video mode and say, what does this say?
You know what? Okay, I will admit this. I wish there was like a sleep mode or something where I could just have it tell me a meandering story that gets quieter and quieter. Well, and then I fall asleep, and then it turns off the faucet of talking. Like the idea of I don't know. The idea of, you know, they got those sleep casts, the podcasts that you're supposed to.
Man, I think that's something where if you wanted to do a little experiment, a little weekend experiment in vibe coding, like I feel like that would be a really fun project for you to just like find a good creative writing, a good creative writing engine, a single button a single button app, right? That you literally open the app or website, tap the button, pick the right voice that is great for you, and then just have it literally. I mean, because that's certainly possible to be like, please tell a meandering story where over a 30-minute, 45-minute thing, you slowly get quieter and quieter and quieter until I hit if I need to hit the button again, I'll hit the button again because I'm awake.
I've got an audiobook for you, Brian.
Yeah.
I'm very interested in this story. Maybe you read it before. I don't know. I think I've tried to read it before, and not because it's poorly written. It's because it is the time of day that when I go to sleep at night, and I often just said, I'll listen to an audiobook. And I'm kind of the believer that, there could be a market for 15-minute audiobooks that you're never meant to finish. They just sound really cool setups. And you just go to sleep with, oh, that's really cool. So I have been trying to make my way through, in no fault of the authors, Dream Park by Larry Niven and Stephen Barnes, which is part of a series. And it's about this futuristic theme park with holograms and stuff like this. And it goes a little bit crazy, etc. And I keep just 15 minutes in and I just pass out.
You know what? Can I confess that this will be my counterpoint? The new Peter F. Hamilton book is the same thing, and if you read between the lines, you find out why. It's a Peter F. Hamilton book, and we all love Peter F. Hamilton. He's amazing, amazing, amazing. But it's very clear that this book exists because it's part of a decades-long contract in which he's building lore for an upcoming down the road online world. And I feel like it's a
boy, does it feel like a manual.
The lore is deep, and I'm pretty sure I know which Jeep Chops go in the Cleep Clops and how the minerals need to be mined and why these people are greedy and those ones are benevolent and so on. But just knowing, I can't know how much of my baggage going in is because I happen to have read what this is.
I cannot imagine a worse level of hell than being a science fiction writer having to work with a game studio.
Oh, who you suddenly get mechanics like, it'd be neat. Well, the animation looks like this. Okay, I already wrote the chapter where this is how he did it. Yeah, but we're going to need you to, maybe that was a hallucination someone had.
Yeah, I've been in the world of corporate notes, and then when you're getting notes from a bunch of different creatives or frustrated creatives, like in TV and stuff, who see your canvas and want to go run and put stuff on that canvas, and then it gets to be my heart goes out to you, Peter Hamilton. But yeah, so Dream Park, though, by no fault of its own, they've done I think 4 books in this series. The original one was in 1981. This was pre-LARPing as a term, and is actually probably what inspired a big part of live action role playing, because they talk about these people running these big games and whatnot in there. So in one of the big LARPing groups named themselves after a fictional group in there. 15 minutes in, sleepy time for Andrew. So that'll be my pick too.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I guess I should know the name of my pick here. I'll look it up right here. Peter F. Hamilton. Hamilton.
Meanwhile, if you want to get into vibe coding or building stuff, one of the things I think a great exercise is just to open up Google Docs and start describing the thing you want, then step back and look at the thing you want and say, is this really clear or whatever? Because you don't want to just go into their dreaming void.
It's even read by John Lee. Everything about this told me I should be loving it.
Oh, I saw Game Studio when I saw that. I'm like, nope. I that was a hard pass for me once I realized this for an upcoming game.
Yeah. Yeah. The Void series is great though. I may go back and revisit that. As a matter of fact, I just recorded a episode of Andrew Heaton's podcast, Alienating the Audience, about time loops. And one of the things that bubbled up was the mechanic in the Void series, the idea that there's within the framework of this fantasy world, someone discovers how to go back and undo every mistake he did, and it turns out at great expense. But the idea of like, you made a mistake, you want to fix it, but to fix the mistake, you have to go back to before your favorite grandchild was born and unborn them in order to do it, and they don't come back the second time, and so on. A bunch of interesting stuff to consider in that one.
Very cool. Time travels stories are fascinating, and should never be brought into a genre where you already like and enjoy. Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Yeah. Cool.
It's
Any
fine
picks?
in Marvel.
Yeah, and they worked hard to work around the work with the rules too. We can't
And they
go
made
back
it
and-
a one movie story. Here's a movie where they solve a problem they couldn't have solved without it, and then at the end they're like, we're done with time traveling.
Yeah, it was like in like Ahsoka, where like I guess in the Clone Wars or Rebels, they introduced all of that weird lore. It was like everything that makes Star Wars terrible. And then, there's the religion, the true religion, and this and that, and this time beyond the time. I'm like, can we just start over now?
You do an adventure story. I think
Yeah, just-
adventure's fun.
Just declare all that extended universe and then move on.
Yeah. Hey, here's my pick.
Oh, an automaton. Here, I'll go ahead and load it up.
This is an automaton, folks. It is the Japanese synthesizer, and you can see the little mini documentary that myself and Andrew Heaton put together that sent us.
What are these
all the way
weird
to
things
Boone
these high
County,
school
Indiana.
kids are holding?
Sorry, there we
Yeah,
go.
it does look
Sorry
like a
about
little
that.
music.
I just mucked all over you on the stream. There we go. There you guys are. Here, I'll just mute that.
Just skip to the middle. The middle's really where the kids are doing the thing. That's where the fun is.
There we go.
We
So-
bought 40 automatons, and it's the band of Western Boone Junior Senior High School created the world's largest automaton orchestra. It's a fun little thing. You can go to We're Not Wrong on YouTube to find it.
It's great.
Actually sounded pretty good.
Wasn't terrible.
It's funny because I thought I'd see like an auditorium with a bunch of kids around in a chair, and I see what looks like a concert. And
Yes.
well-dressed kids in suits and whatnot, and a conductor, and they all pull out. I'm like, man, I kind of Justin and Andrew's Lark feels
Too legit.
I feel a little yeah. So
It was very fun,
yeah,
and you can relive it with us.
cool. Gentlemen, it's been after.
Got it. It's great.
All right, we out.
Yeah, here, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thank you so much, everybody who watched us live.